Good morning, namaste everyone. It's another beautiful October fall day here in Canada, where I am currently. And today I wanted to just come to some reflections that I had this past week. This past weekend, Lisa and I from Rasa Ayurveda, we spent some time at a women's event, and this women's event was obviously geared and focused upon women's products, women's empowerment talks, various things for women. And although there was a lot of beauty and a lot of celebration of the feminine, there was some noticings and some things that were very striking for me. And I would say particularly one thing that was very striking for me was how beauty was portrayed and also eaten up, how beauty was sort of commodified. And nothing about this event, but rather that it exists in the collective sphere, that us as women are supporting a certain perspective around beauty, which is the following: that the more we deny aging, the more we buy into anti-aging, the more we promote a continuity and an attempt of continuity towards youthfulness, the more beautiful we are. So it seems to be that beauty has become synonymous with not aging. And I think this is commonsensical for a lot of us, that, there's a lot of products that, and science and offerings that really support this narrative. And so it's nothing new, maybe in that way. But what it did bring to light for me is why this is promoting so much lack of internal ease and so much anxiety. There's a collective phenomenon in which anxiety is increasing, not just for women, but for all human beings. And actually, in Ayurveda, one of the 3 causes of disease that is outlined in the text and outlined by the rishis, by the great Ayurvedic masters, is the following. And it's the 3rd cause of disease, and it's called parinama. And parinama really means moving against natural rhythm, or moving against the naturalness of time, moving against time. And so when we consider this, the one thing we know in time is the following: that each and every one of us in this bodily form, in this bodily and mental form, will pass. This will pass. This is impermanent. It will make its way to the earth and to stardust, and it will recycle. And that recognition brings so much truth to the rest of our lives if we truly land into that recognition. If we allow the sobriety of that to really hit home, to be seated in the core of our knowings of what it is to exist. But if we deny that, both physically and also mentally, or rather if we attempt to deny that, because there's no way in denying it, it is literally the one true thing amongst only a few in this life. And if we don't give some time to contemplate that, then we can really get caught up in the incessancy and in the collective narrative that it is beautiful to be youthful, and that we need to do everything possible to attempt and to promote this idea of beauty. And so what I saw at this event was that every product was aimed towards that. So denying the fact that the map of life exists on our faces through different light technology and various forms of makeup and all sorts of injections and various ways that we can deny it is the mapping of life that is seen on our faces, not just as women, but also all human beings. And there were products that also promoted a certain ideal of thinness, or that a body should not have voluptuousness or fullness, and that it's youthful to be thin, but also to have curves. And so cosmetic surgery and various ways that we can return to a youthfulness, but a falsity of youthfulness. That, we can have breast implants or implants in the buttocks or whatever it might be. So actually, in many ways, I was exposed to things that I didn't even know existed. And what I saw was that the people who approached us, many of the women who were approaching us during this event, we're dealing with things like anxiety and a great lack of ease, dis-ease in their lives. And yet at the same time, this incessant, constant attempt to conform to this concept of beauty and to spend a lot of money and a lot of time in the running mind and the running body of how to achieve this. And so in Ayurveda, it becomes one of the wisdomful guideposts of our lives to really recognize what is the naturalness of the rhythm of a well-lived life. What is the naturalness of a daily rhythm? We call this dinacharya, to live in accordance with the day, to rise with sun and to let everything soften as the sun sets. What is it to live in rhythm with the seasons? So in Ayurveda, we actually speak ritucharya, we speak to 6 seasons, and that we, as part and parcel, as an interconnected part of this wholeness, that we are also subject to the movements of the seasons, and that when we live out of alignment with these seasons, we actually live out of alignment with ourselves and the naturalness of these rhythms. And similarly, Ayurveda, with this recognition of parinama, this recognition of disease caused by not living in accordance with time and with the rhythms of nature, says that also in this lifetime, there is a natural process that occurs. There are natural movements in aging that occur, and that certain periods of our lives are given to certain aspects of the life. So childhood is really a time for us to be full and full of vigor and vitality, and to learn and to be nurtured and nourished, and for there to be a great earthing energy, an energy more of what we might call kapha, and then that time is really important for us to stay full and voluptuous in everything from our physical body, but also the voluptuousness of our minds, to be given a lot to contemplate and to take in, and for there to be wonder and awe at what it is to exist. And then the mid phase of our lives is really an energy more of fire, of pitta, and that this time is really when we come into arta, when we come into our time of right livelihood and purpose, and we give ourselves to whatever it might be, the way in which we sustain ourselves, but also the way in which we offer to the mosaic of human beings, the way in which we live out our lives. And so a great fire energy in manifestation and in contribution can be there in the mid phase of our lives. But then also Ayurveda outlines that in this seasonality of our lives and the transitions that happen in aging and the process of what it is to exist in this physical form, that there is also this later phase of life. And that in this later phase of life, we actually exist more in connection with the elements of air and of space. And so it's really a time to rest in spaciousness, to give time to great contemplation, to, in many ways, be an elder that holds the space of wisdom for others. And really that this time is not for us to continue to try to attempt to do the things that we might have done during childhood or the mid-years of our lives, but really to rest back into the space of what it is to have had a well-lived life. And so in that way, an honoring of these phases of life is what's suggested in Ayurveda. With that wisdom and with that honoring, what happens is that we truly start to respect and love and cherish what it is to age. And we also start to cherish what it is when we witness the aging of others. And I would say that we really have a deficit today of this perspective. We have a deficit of elders, we have a deficit of elderly wisdom, and we have a deficit of revering those in our lives who have reached this point, and that it can be seen. The map of life can be seen in bodies and in faces, but also in consciousness, that they have so much to contribute to the rest of us on this planet. And when we start to deny these rhythms, we start to deny all of us as a collectivity. We start to deny the importance and also the place. We start to deny that there be a place and a space for elderly wisdom and for the natural arisings that occur within an aging population, and how intergenerationality can also contribute to so much learning for children and for those in our mid-years. And so this past week I've just been sitting with this recognition and sitting with this contemplation, and I wanted to share it with all of you. I wanted to share a call to action that we really truly start to honor what it is to live a life that's in alignment with the seasons of aging, the natural transitions of what it is to be embodiment, rather than constantly attempting towards something that is truly false, trying to hold and contain and stay gripped to something that is obviously passing. In many ways, this means to truly recognize our own death, to truly recognize that this body will be passing at some point in this life. And when we recognize that, then each moment, each breath, each day becomes much more precious. There's like a savoring of what it is to be alive. So I suppose in many ways it's a call to that. Spend your money and your time, and may we all really spend our time also in conversation and in collectivity and in community, really honoring that more than spending our money and our time on an attempt that is going to continuously bring expectation and disappointment, is going to continuously bring craving for something that's untrue and aversion for the natural processing of aging that will happen to each and every one of us. So with this wisdom of Ayurveda, with the wisdom of parinama, this cause of disease, of misusing or denying the natural aging process, may it bring us, each and every one of us, some deep contemplation and some revelatory seeing, so that we can really exist here and now in freedom. Freedom to age gracefully, and freedom to also cherish the aging process and all of the natural wisdom, all of the beauty that it brings from an inner radiance rather than one that is falsely created. I hope each and every one of you is having a beautiful day, and I look forward to sharing again soon. Namaste.